Who are the Big Ten wild cards or the Big Ten wild card for 2025? Last episode, Philip in the chat asked which teams essentially have the largest range of possible record outcomes. Well, we did a floor ceiling episode, and in that we had Nebraska, UCLA, Maryland, and USC with a possible 6-game swing. A lot of potential, but also a lot of risk. Minnesota, Northwestern, and Michigan trailed closely with a 5-game swing between their floor and their ceiling. But I want to start here with the Wolverines at Michigan, Zach. Okay, Sherrone Moore's Wolverines, they're kind of in a puzzle, and he didn't really want to, express any concern about it. Not that you would at Big Ten Media Days, but there are rumors about a possible suspension for Moore, at least 2 games by the university, possibly more by the NCAA, and that could mean more games for Moore, which could shake things up, in my opinion, because unlike a couple years ago, Jim Harbaugh's 6-game suspension in 2023, when they had a seasoned staff, the future head coach was on the staff, a third-year playing quarterback in J.J. McCarthy, it won't be easy to keep things steady. Now, with Moore in his second year, a true freshman, albeit phenom, but still a true freshman, and Bryce Underwood possibly starting, and some concern with the offensive line's pass protection, the Wolverines have more questions than they did back then. I think that's pretty obvious. If Underwood clicks, the defense holds, and they win at Oklahoma and Nebraska early, this is looking like a team that probably sets up for 10 wins at least. But if Moore's sidelined and the offense stumbles, you're looking at worst case scenario. I'm not predicting it's going to happen, but you're looking at a 6-6 possible season isn't out of the question. But I doubt it'll happen. I doubt they're going to be that bad or anything. The schedule is manageable, or favorable, whatever word you want to say. So, Zach, your thoughts on Michigan, the wild card? Do you think it's one of the other teams that I mentioned? Do you think it's Michigan that is more the wild card? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think Michigan certainly is a wild card because of the uncertainty you speak of, right? Like you've got the coaching questions, you've got a freshman quarterback, there's still other questions, right? Like I think we're still curious about the offensive line. They made some strides a year ago, but I wouldn't say that I am super excited about their prospects. I think they could be really good. I think Sherrone Moore wants to run the ball. He's a proven offensive line guy, but they weren't as good as we've come to expect Michigan offensive lines to be. So I think those reasons, and as much as we sang the defensive line's praises against Alabama a year ago, that second string performance, which was dynamic, can they do that week in and week out? I think that's a question. So I don't think you're out of line to say that Michigan is the biggest wild card. To me, I'll be honest, I think the two to me that are most intriguing and I think could swing the most and I think would make the most sense is USC and Washington. Because I think the pieces are there both for USC and Washington to really take major strides, right? I think in our floor and ceiling, we said we could see USC all the way at 11-1. We could see Washington at 10-2. But I think Washington, there's questions about the offensive line and quite honestly, Jed Fish's coaching ability. And then I think with USC, we like Iamaleava. We like what that team could be, but will it all gel together? And they they don't have an easy schedule by any means. And so I think you can really see, USC could be like last year where they were in it and with a lot of games, but just fell short. And I think Washington, you could see similar things where when they go on the road, they kind of blow some games they shouldn't, but are fantastic at home. So I think there's a lot there though. Washington and USC has top end talent that I think make things interesting. They're both potential playoff teams, and they both could miss a bowl.
Yeah, I think the key for USC, because I agree with you on them, I think the key for them is they need to start and get momentum, right? I think that they're going to win their first 4 games, even though they go on the road to Purdue. I mean, I'm sorry, Purdue fans. You're really going to hate me in the next segment, but it's okay. I think USC starts 4-0 most likely. Then they get that game at Illinois. If they win that game, I don't think they will, full disclosure, but just the travel and everything else. I think Illinois is probably going to win that one, but Illinois is coming off a road game to Indiana that's going to be very big, very emotional. So you never know. There could be some what's the word for it, like drawback or whatever there. So realistically, USC could start 5-0. If they start 5-0, I feel much better about this team. But then if you don't have momentum there, if you go 4-1, then you're looking at a different slate, in my opinion. Because after that, you get Michigan, and then at Notre Dame, and then you get a bye week, and then at Nebraska, Northwestern, Iowa, at Oregon, UCLA. It's not a murderous schedule, but there is definitely a point in there where it gets a little hazy, and you don't know exactly what's going to happen. For me, if it's not Michigan, man, it's Nebraska. Okay, Nebraska has the schedule in the Big Ten this year. It is the schedule that everybody wants. It is the schedule that everybody needs. Okay. But this is also a team in Nebraska that every single year, sorry, Nebraska fans, I think you would agree with me on this, though, every single year tends to underperform. Even last year, they went 6-6, but the way that year started and everything else, like you thought that team was going to win 7, 8, maybe even 9 games. And then they fall off and they only win 6 games, 7 overall because they win their bowl game. I don't know. Like, it's the schedule, it's the nature of this Nebraska team. I tend to think upward for Nebraska, but overall, like, it's just Nebraska's just a wild card altogether. Even if they had a hard schedule, I don't know. It just feels like Nebraska's a wild card altogether.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. I hated trying to pick wins and losses for them because every time I did, I was like, they should win this game. Crap.
Or if they get into a close game, what's going to happen? I mean,
right.
And again, their fans know, like, it's been maddening for them. But yeah, another team we had in here was UCLA. Zach, our floor for UCLA was 2-10. Jeez, we're mean. Our ceiling for them.
It's not mean. It's reality.
Yeah. Our ceiling for them is 8-4. I feel like a lot of this stems on the out of conference. Utah at UNLV, New Mexico. If they come out of that 1-2, you're looking at 2-10, 3-9 type of season. But if they come out of that 3-0, you're looking at 7-5, 8-4, most likely, in my opinion. But don't call me crazy here, but I know home against Utah, you don't really have the travel advantage though there. And then Dan Mullen at UNLV, I don't think that's a cupcake win. I think Dan Mullen's going to have those guys playing hard and playing well, and they're going to have some really interesting offense to deal with there.
Yeah, the reason why I didn't say UCLA in in my first couple teams is that I can see a path for 8-4. I think the likelihood of them getting 6 wins or more is pretty bleak, if I'm just honest. Like, even the easier games are away. So, like, I don't love at Northwestern. Like, I think that's a loss for UCLA. Like, I don't love at Michigan State. Certainly don't love at Ohio State or USC. Those aren't easy games, obviously. And then they get Nebraska at home, but I don't love that for them either. Like, I just don't.
They get Washington at home too.
Yeah,
I don't love that either.
Yeah, like their home games are harder games, and some of their away games would be their easier games. And I'm like, I don't love any. Like, honestly, I don't think UCLA's schedule. It's not last year's schedule, but it's not great.
Right. Well, and we would be hypocrites here if we didn't bring up. I mean, we just brought up the Sherrone Moore stuff with Michigan. We'd be hypocrites if we didn't bring up Nico Iamaleava, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Look, I want Nico to be great. Like you said, we're a player-friendly show. I want Nico to be great. I want Nico to make his money and for him to have the players around him, for him to be close to his family, all the stuff that's been said. I want all of that. But I don't trust it. Sorry. Like, I don't trust that Nico is going to get through the entire season as the quarterback for UCLA. Maybe I'm wrong. I probably am going to be wrong. I wouldn't say that I'm leaning towards that's going to happen, but I also see the possibility of it going to happen, and it concerns me.
Yeah. Chris Wilds, friend of the show, said Washington does not historically play well at UCLA. Fair point. I think
Washington
just
doesn't
to
historically play well outside of, I guess not historically. Last season they didn't
Seattle.
play well outside of home. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I will say that, and this is maybe less about shade with Nico and more just the reality of the situation. He just got there in what, May, June? Like
Which
there's
concerns me even more for the Utah and UNLV games.
yeah, like that. I don't think people realize how big of a deal it is. Like people are concerned about Julian Sayin and Bryce Underwood and their first couple starts. Well, guess what? Like they've at least had a season to get the offense under their belt, or for Bryce, a semester. Nico's had nothing. He will have had fall camp and the summer where he can't technically is not supposed to be around coaches. Like,
Yeah, they're always around coaches.
yeah, I mean, I get
It's
that.
not just UCLA, it's everybody.
But
Like I
they
say,
can't.
it's always everybody.
But they can't have structured, formal practice. There's only so much you can do in the summer. If we're concerned about Julian Sayin, if we're concerned about Bryce Underwood, who by all accounts are maybe better talents. Nico's really, really good. I'm not trying to say that he's not good, but we're talking about a kid who's arriving in May, being handed a playbook and say, hey, figure this out in fall camp, and then go out and play a pretty darn good Utah team who underachieved a year ago because they got decimated with injuries. That Utah team's going to be good this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Dylan says, watch out for the ultimate wild card. The Boilers. The Boilers, baby.
I'm sorry, DK. I'm sorry.
Hey, we had Purdue had a ceiling of 6-6. All right.
I'm sorry.
Nobody can say that we're haters. Okay.
I think people will say we're haters.
I had Dylan on the show. Okay. You tell me another Big Ten podcast out there that had a Purdue fan on the show. Okay.
I had Dylan on Big Ten Football Talk before we went away.
Well, that's why you joined this show, because
exactly.
It's awesome.
We're still gonna get called haters.
Yeah, it happens. Okay. Before we move on, real quick, if you had to decide your one wild card team, I'm gonna go with Michigan. UCLA is a close second for me. Both of the uncertainties make me feel like they're kind of the wild card teams. If I had to pick a team without an uncertainty, I'd pick Nebraska. So I guess that's my top three. Who's your team?
Yeah, I'd probably say Washington and USC.
Pick one.
I will go Washington.
Okay.
I'm very intrigued.
The road game thing is intriguing.
Yeah. Because if their road games are actually not that difficult this year, which I'm not saying that means they're definitely going to win, but they're not like they get to host most of their toughest games.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.